Senator Roberts.
Thank you. As a servant to the people of Queensland and Australia, I support this bill to restore fairness, integrity and justice to allocation of staff in crossbench senators' offices, and to protect accountability in Parliament and to guard democracy. The Prime Minister currently has the authority and sole discretion to determine the number of parliamentary advisers to crossbench senators. Here's how he allocated staff in the previous Parliament and then after the recent election. Firstly, crossbench senators who largely vote with Labor. David Pocock. Before the election, 2 advisers. After the election, unchanged, 2 advisers. Tammy Tyrrell. Before the election, 2 advisers. After the election, unchanged, 2 advisers. Lydia Thorpe. Before the election, 2 advisers. After the election, unchanged, 2 advisers. Jackie Lambie. Before the election, 3 advisers. 3. After the election, unchanged, 3 advisers. Secondly, let's move on to the crossbench senators who often oppose Labor in the Senate. Senator Ralph Babet. Before the election, 2 advisers. After the election, cut in half, 1 adviser. 1. One Nation senators. Before the election, 2 advisers each. After the election, on average, cut in half, 1 adviser each. 1. Thirdly, crossbench Senator Fatima Payman, who resigned from Labor during the last term, embarrassing the Prime Minister and the Labor Party. Before the election, 0 advisers, nil. After the election, 0 advisers, nil. None. Next, consider this. The Prime Minister sacked both my advisers. He bypassed me, their employer. The parliamentary adviser's duty, the personal advisers, is to assist senators with researching proposed legislation, assist senators in writing speeches, advise on parliamentary tactics, help prepare questions for Senate estimates hearings, be the first point of contact with community groups and deputise for senators in meetings when the senator is engaged in the chamber or elsewhere in the state. The Prime Minister radically gutted the staffing of those senators who hold the Labor Party accountable. This does not pass the pub test, nor any test for fairness, integrity, justice. When the Prime Minister cuts the staffing of those senators who take positions opposing his, he has an obvious conflict of interest. The incentive for the Prime Minister is to cut the resources of his political opponents in seeking to take political advantage and to cut us off at the legs. Reducing the number of support staff for a senator effectively reduces the ability of a senator to function on behalf of the electorate and to provide an effective opposition, a foundation of our Westminster system of democratic government. This is an abuse of taxpayer funds and of the nation's top political office, that of Prime Minister. To cripple senators with the courage to hold the Prime Minister's government accountable and to reward those senators who support the Prime Minister's agenda. This Prime Minister seems to forget that Parliament does not serve him. He serves the people through the democratically elected Parliament. The state I proudly represent, Queensland, has 5.7 million people. Tasmania has 575,000. The state I represent has around 10 times the number of constituents as Tasmania. Queensland is 25 times larger in area than Tasmania. Queensland has more diverse regions and climates and a much larger and more diverse economy. Queensland's gross state product is 12 times larger than Tasmania's. Yet the Prime Minister allocates more than twice the number of advisers to each Tasmanian crossbench senator than to each Queensland crossbench senator. Senator Whitten's state of Western Australia has an area almost 40 times that of Tasmania. He's got to get around in that. The state of New South Wales has a population 14 times that of Tasmania. The disparities between our states and the Australian Capital Territory, with its tiny population, are even more striking than with Tassie. This treatment of different Senate officers is inequitable and raises issues of bias, discrimination and political bastardry. This clearly shows the Prime Minister to be incapable of fairness and clearly displays his vindictiveness, incompetence and biased behaviour. Is he aiming to cripple One Nation after we received a huge increase in votes, doubled our members of Parliament and came close to having a total of 7 senators elected?
Right, strap yourselves in, because this one's a ripper. What we're looking at here isn't just another Canberra scuffle or a bit of tit for tat between the crossbench and the big dogs. Nah, This one's about the Prime Minister allegedly turning public servants into political pawns. It's the sort of drama that makes you want to grab a cold one, lean back, and say, "Crikey, he really did that, didn't he?" So, the title says it all. The PM's political weaponization of staff. It sounds dramatic, right? Well, that's because it is. Picture this. The Prime Minister of Australia, the bloke who promised transparency, fairness, and that whole new politics spiel, quietly tightening his grip on Parliament by deciding who gets staff and who gets shafted. Yep, the PM holds the power to decide how many advisors each senator gets, and according to One Nation's Malcolm Roberts, that power's being used like a political baseball bat. Before we dive into the PM's staff slashing scandal, where Albo plays favourites and fair play gets tossed out the window, smash that like button like you're cutting political bias in half. And grab the not far right, just right shirt, links in the description. Now, let's break that down, Aussie style. Advisors are the unsung heroes of Parliament. They're the ones burning the midnight oil, doing the research, writing the speeches, prepping questions, and making sure senators don't make a goose of themselves on live TV. Without them, a senator's about as effective as a ute with no engine. But here's the kicker. Apparently, if you're nice to the government, if you play ball, say a few nice words about Albo, your staff numbers stay the same. But if you dare to challenge the big guy, suddenly, you're working solo like you're back in high school, doing a group project alone. Let's name names, because Roberts certainly did. David Pocock, Tammy Tyrrell, Lydia Thorpe, Jackie Lambie, all of them either friendly or at least cooperative with Labor, got to keep their full staff after the election. 2, 3, whatever they had before, all good. No cuts. Business as usual. But for those who actually hold the government accountable, like Ralph Babbitt and the One Nation crew, bam, staff slashed in half. From 2 advisors to 1. As Roberts put it, 1. Just one poor bugger expected to do the work of an entire team. And Senator Fatima Payman, who split from Labor after clashing with the party, she got 0. Zilch. Nada. Before and after the election. Like she doesn't even exist in the Prime Minister's contact list. Now, imagine you're a crossbench senator from Queensland, a state with 10 times the population of Tasmania. You've got regions spanning thousands of kilometres, different industries, different issues, and a massive electorate to look after. Yet, according to Roberts, Tasmanian senators, from a state with a smaller population than some Brisbane suburbs, get double the staff. You don't have to be Einstein to see how cooked that looks. It's not just unfair, it's political bastardry, plain and simple. Roberts didn't mince words. He called it vindictive, chaotic, biased, and honestly, if half of what he's alleging is true, it's pretty crook. He said the PM sacked both my advisors without even consulting him, their employer. Imagine that, your boss's boss just firing your team out from under you because you dared to speak up. It's like the political version of nice democracy you've got there. Shame if something happened to it. And look, this isn't just a bit of workplace drama. This is about accountability, about whether the people holding government to account are being deliberately kneecapped. Because when the Prime Minister controls who gets the staff and who doesn't, he's basically controlling how much scrutiny he faces. Less staff means fewer questions, fewer investigations, fewer people digging through the fine print of those glossy government bills. And that, mates, doesn't pass the pub test, not by a long shot. Now, let's get into the nitty-gritty of the accusations, because Roberts wasn't holding back. He says the PM gave no reason for the decision, didn't consult anyone, didn't act in good faith, didn't provide procedural fairness, and basically just swung the axe without warning. Some senators apparently found out about their cuts through the media. That's how dodgy the process was. No explanation, no justification, no paperwork, just a cold email saying your team's been halved. One Nation argues that the PM's move breaches administrative law, the rules that keep government decisions fair and reasonable. Roberts reckons the PM ignored every principle of due process, from failing to consider relevant evidence to giving senators about as much notice as a tradie showing up unannounced. He even said his staff were terminated before they were told, and that he only got 12 minutes to respond to a communication deadline. 12 minutes. You can't even make a cup of coffee in that time, let alone defend your office from a bureaucratic ambush. And here's where it gets even spisher. Roberts suggested that the PM's decision was driven by fear of scrutiny, fear of criticism, fear of One Nation's rising popularity. Queensland's firebrand party doubled its senators, gained more votes, and suddenly, poof, half their staff gone. Coincidence? Maybe. But as Roberts said, always beneath control, there is fear. He even took a jab at the Greens, saying the PM somehow found $886,000 of taxpayer money to refurbish the Greens party room, but couldn't find the cash to keep crossbench staff employed. Oh, and the journalist who broke that story? Apparently banned from Parliament for a week. Roberts didn't say it outright, but the implication was clear. Play nice with the PM, and you get new carpet. Cross him, and you get carpeted. Roberts also pointed out the double standard between states. Queensland's economy is 12 times larger than Tasmania's, yet its senators get fewer advisors. Western Australia's almost 40 times the size of Tassie, New South Wales 14 times the population, and still, the smaller states are getting the sweeter deal. You can see why Queenslanders might be spitting chips over that one. Now, I know what you're thinking. Surely there's some logical explanation for all this? Maybe it's budget cuts, efficiency measures, administrative reshuffling. But Roberts isn't buying it, and honestly, the timing stinks. He reckons this isn't about efficiency, it's about punishment. The message is clear. If you don't toe the line, don't expect the resources to do your job properly. And that's where this whole saga stops being just another Canberra squabble and becomes something darker. Because if the Prime Minister's office is being used to silence dissent, even subtly, that's a massive red flag for democracy. This is supposed to be a government that serves the people, not a government that stacks the deck to serve itself. Roberts went on to say the PM's decision not only undermined fairness and democracy, but also workplace safety. Yeah, you heard that right. There was even a review by the Department of Prime Minister and Cabinet that found parliamentary staff were already overworked and under pressure, basically warning that the system was stretched to breaking point. Cutting staff further, Roberts argued, just adds more stress, more burnout, and more risk. For a government that loves to talk about mental health in the workplace, it's a bloody strange way to show it. Then there's the part about how the PM refused to meet with both Roberts and Pauline Hanson together, insisting instead on separate meetings. That's an old political trick, divide and conquer. Make sure the troublemakers don't compare notes. According to Roberts, that's exactly what happened. He also accused the PM of disrespecting the courts, abusing taxpayer money, and hiding behind reduced opposition. This hurts democracy, he said. It hurts Australia. Strong words, but you can feel the frustration. Roberts is basically saying, mate, you're meant to be running the country, not rigging the rules to make yourself look good. By the end of his speech, you could tell Roberts wasn't just having a spray for the cameras. This was personal. His staff, his team, his ability to do his job, all gutted by what he sees as a politically motivated hit job. He even mocked the PM's past record, pointing out that Albanese had a go at him during question time, throwing names and labels instead of answers. Roberts' comeback? Classic Aussie. Name-calling and labels are the refuge of the ignorant, the incompetent, the dishonest, or the fearful. Ouch. But amid all the fury, Roberts also laid out a solution. The bill he was backing, supported by Payman, Babbitt, the Liberals, and One Nation, aims to set minimum staffing standards for senators. That means the PM could still give more staff if he wanted, but couldn't just strip them away on a whim. It's not about tying the PM's hands, it's about making sure everyone's playing on the same field. And here's the irony. Both previous Liberal Prime Ministers, according to Roberts, treated all senators equally when it came to staff. No political games, no secret punishments. Just fairness. Yet the PM who built his brand on fairness and transparency is being accused of doing the exact opposite. As Roberts wrapped up, he delivered a line that sums up the whole saga. Prime Minister Albanese hides from democracy, buries democracy, prevents democracy, kills democracy. Dramatic, sure, but when you look at the pattern he's describing, it doesn't sound too far-fetched. It's a warning, really, about how power, even in small administrative decisions, can quietly erode the foundations of a democracy. So, here we are. Another day in Australian politics, another scandal that'll probably get swept under the rug by the big networks. But Roberts ended with a call to arms. If you care about accountability, about fairness, about keeping the bastards honest, share it. Spread it. Because at the end of the day, democracy isn't something you just hand to politicians and hope for the best. It's something the people have to protect, especially when the people in charge start playing funny buggers with the rules. And that, mates, is what makes this whole saga so bloody important. It's not just about staff or spreadsheets or parliamentary procedures. It's about power, who has it, who abuses it, and who's brave enough to call it out. The Prime Minister might have the numbers, the advisors, and the press conferences, but if he keeps weaponizing the system for his own gain, he's going to find out that Australians don't take kindly to being played. Because at the end of the day, this country was built on straight talk, fair play, and giving everyone a fair go, not on political games that stink worse than a bin on a summer arvo. And if the PM's forgotten that, well, the voters will be more than happy to remind him. Smash that like if you reckon Australia deserves better at the top, and grab the Not Far Right Just Right shirt, links in the description. Keep your beers cold and your politicians on a short leash, mate.